Christine, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, yes. So how long you been in the business?
Since April of this year, so not too long, fairly new. Since April of this year, so not too long, fairly new.
Yeah, brand new agent. And so how much premium are you doing per month?
On average, I've never had a month that's under 10K. So I'm always at least over 10K.
Awesome. So take me back. How did you even get started in the insurance business in the first place?
I actually was working on the marketing side with an insurance agency and did that for a couple years, just kind of watched. I always wanted to get into sales. I think most people do. Like, we know people in sales make good money, but sales isn't for everyone. So I just kind of thought about it and never jumped in because I was so scared to actually get into sales. And then seeing everyone make literally $500,000 a year off of life insurance, and then going to the convention and just seeing everyone in the industry, I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this. So I pretty much just jumped right in, got my license, and that's the story right there.
Yeah, which is so cool because I was also at that same convention and um Blake was shooting some stuff for me and I think you guys had the same tattoo or similar tattoo or something like that, which was pretty cool and kind of hit off and just you just happened to be in Nashville also. And I ran into Sebastian at that convention too, which was super cool. And you were creative and so that I think that's what kind of gravitated me towards you was that you had the entrepreneur kind of spirit. So kind of walk me through when you realized that you weren't going to go the traditional route and you kind of wanted to, kind of work for your own, work for yourself and kind of try to figure it out.
Yeah, oddly enough, I think I've always known I wanted to do that. My dad is very entrepreneurial. So I think when you grow up seeing that from your father, my dad, mostly is invested in real estate now, but he started, a couple different businesses, things like that. And we even did one together at a point in time before I moved here and sold that off. But I just always knew I wanted to do that. I just didn't know the right route to take. It's hard when you're young and you're in your 20s and getting things situated. And I mean, I feel like I've started my life over in my 20s, like literally, like
Yes, for sure.
25 years old. I completely started from scratch all over again. And it wasn't honestly until I started taking my fitness seriously, because that was another area of my life where I felt like I could improve on, but I was scared to do it. And so I had a lot of friends competing in the bodybuilding side of things and doing the physique competitions. I always thought I couldn't do it. And I was like, you know what, Christine? Everything we say we can't do this year, we are going to do. So I went and I started working with a bodybuilding coach doing that. And then the same time is when I decided to get my license and go right into this and do it full time. Yeah, oddly enough, I think I've always known I wanted to do that. My dad is very entrepreneurial. So I think when you grow up seeing that from your father, my dad, mostly is invested in real estate now, but he started, a couple different businesses, things like that. And we even did one together at a point in time before I moved here and sold that off. But I just always knew I wanted to do that. I just didn't know the right route to take. It's hard when you're young and you're in your 20s and getting things situated. And I mean, I feel like I've started my life over in my 20s, like literally, like
Yes, for sure.
25 years old. I completely started from scratch all over again. And it wasn't honestly until I started taking my fitness seriously, because that was another area of my life where I felt like I could improve on, but I was scared to do it. And so I had a lot of friends competing in the bodybuilding side of things and doing the physique competitions. I always thought I couldn't do it. And I was like, you know what, Christine? Everything we say we can't do this year, we are going to do. So I went and I started working with a bodybuilding coach doing that. And then the same time is when I decided to get my license and go right into this and do it full time.
So it's very interesting because I'm really big into fitness also. And
Mhm.
so as being an entrepreneur, right? Like how can you correlate your fitness to, being an entrepreneur and having success? Do you think that it has an impact on it?
100%. And I would not have known that if I wasn't, working towards my fitness goals, but also in an industry like sales, because they go so hand in hand. They're both such delayed gratification. Like, you have to be willing to put in the work every day and just be dedicated to it and see that big picture at the end, that finish line. And even though the finish line just keeps moving, 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 even in both for me, it's that constant every day of waking up and doing the same thing and knowing that it's going to pay off eventually. 100%. And I would not have known that if I wasn't, working towards my fitness goals, but also in an industry like sales because they go so hand in hand. They're both such delayed gratification. Like you have to be willing to put in the work every day and just be dedicated to it and see that big picture at the end, that finish line. And even though the finish line just keeps moving, 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 even in both for me, it's that constant every day of waking up and doing the same thing and knowing that it's going to pay off eventually. 100%. And I would not have known that if I wasn't, working towards my fitness goals, but also in an industry like sales because they go so hand in hand. They're both such delayed gratification. Like you have to be willing to put in the work every day and just be dedicated to it and see that big picture at the end, that finish line. And even though the finish line just keeps moving, 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 even in both for me, it's that constant every day of waking up and doing the same thing and knowing that it's going to pay off eventually. 100%. And I would not have known that if I wasn't, working towards my fitness goals, but also in an industry like sales because they go so hand in hand. They're both such delayed gratification. Like you have to be willing to put in the work every day and just be dedicated to it and see that big picture at the end, that finish line. And even though the finish line just keeps moving, 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 even in both for me, it's that constant every day of waking up and doing the same thing and knowing that it's going to pay off eventually.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that like, we always get into this conversation with high level producers and high achieving people, which is we're just self-motivated, and it's really just about keeping commitments to yourself, right? If you say you're going to do something, whether you're tired or you don't feel like it or you got a headache or you got whatever else going on, it's did I get the job done? And it's really to that capacity. And it's really just about self-reliance, and what happens is that's where your confidence comes from, your ability to believe in yourself, that if you say you're going to do something, you're going to see it out through to its end. And I think it's really cool when you have the fitness thing, because like you've already crushed the day, you've already won the day, whether you go in the morning or at night, whatever it is, you've already won the day by doing that. And so then, generally that's one of the toughest parts of what everything is you're going to do throughout the day, and then doing some calls, but you already kind of won and set yourself up for success. But more importantly, when you're in sales, you're transferring energy, right? And so you got to be operating at the highest level. And so if you want to vibrate at that level, right, like once you come from the gym, you're like at this peak state, self-confident, you're proud of yourself, you've done something hard, and
Yeah.
now you want to kind of transfer that belief to somebody else, into protecting their family and doing something great for themselves. So how long have you been into like fitness, like hardcore, where it's like you're doing it, but now it's like you're super serious about it and you're like all in?
Yeah, so in January this year, I started working with my bodybuilding coach. So the year prior to that, I was working with a personal trainer and just trying to get in the gym, feel more confident about doing it on my own and things like that. But it was January when I actually started. I mean, I'm on a meal plan, I'm weighing my food, I'm not in prep per se. In the bodybuilding world, that's what we use as far as when we're actually planning for our competition and show. But I started working in January, and then funny enough, I actually go into my prep in January. So in a few weeks, I start my actual prep for my shows this summer. So I'm excited. It's been a process.
Yeah, that self-discipline thing carries you a long way. And it's like self-discipline is the ultimate freedom for you, because every day isn't going to be a perfect day. Every day you go in the gym, you're not going to crush your goals. Every day you weigh in, you're not going to crush it, but it doesn't
I
stop you,
will.
because you know that, you know what I'm saying? It's one of
Yeah.
those things that you just kind of build up that callous, the emotional roller coaster kind of evens you out. So I'm curious how you navigate that, right? Because you got these personal goals, and then you got these business world goals, right? Like how you balance that out, you know what I mean? Because that can be tricky.
Yeah, I will say the last couple months it has been a mental game for me because now I'm not only just selling, a huge majority of my time now is my agency. So I have several agents under me now that I've hired and I've had to train, and I take their success very, very serious. So I take the training very serious when it comes to them, and that's just a whole nother mental aspect of pouring so much energy into them. So it is a lot, but again, you always have to stick to what you know and what you know works, and the dedication at the end of the day. Like you said, it's doing the consistent things, just trying to get my, macros hit. That way I know I'm going to gain my muscle in the gym, or checking in with my bodybuilding coach. I check in with her twice a week. So that keeps me accountable. But I also am in direct communication with my business partner every single day, all day long, when it comes to the agency side. So having, and I know you know this, like having that person that you can be accountable with is so huge, no matter what aspect it is for me, fitness or in business. I have to have those people around me keeping me accountable. And I think that's what makes the biggest difference for me and helps me get through it.
Well, it's so true because, sometimes when you get started in something, you kind of believe and you kind of heard some things. But when you get around people that got strong belief in the beginning, you kind of got to borrow their belief, right? You got to, it's kind of like you've got to leave your old belief system behind and kind of pick up someone else's, and you got to start putting in these actions where you don't know if it's going to work, right? You got to buy some leads, or you got to go through this training and get this license. You don't know how that's going to turn out. I watched a video from Alex Ramosi talking about entrepreneurship, where the journey is uncertain in the steps that you take. But since you jumped out there, you've gone too far to turn around, because you're walking away from the life that wasn't, that was kind of mediocre, not making you happy in the first place. And so by doing that, the journey becomes the fulfillment of, you kind of live life on your terms, right? And so when you have that opportunity, like, it's the most fulfilling, especially when you got a team, right? I know writing a policy is probably, making having that first 10K month or whatever feels amazing. But I'm sure you feel the same way of, like, when one of your agents wins, or you see the light bulb click, right, where they have success. Like, that's truly where you get a ton of fulfillment.
Yeah, that's like my favorite thing ever right now, because I pour so much into my team and they're all doing so well. Like one of my agents, it was her second week, not even her full second weekend. It was like a week and a half in, because Thanksgiving just happened, things like that. It throws us off. She submitted like $8,000 like
Wow.
week and a half in. And to me, like, I'm just so proud when I see that, because my team, they're all go-getters. First off, I'm particular about who I hire, and they are all such go-getters, and they see that big picture. And I think a lot of times people don't see that big picture, or they're not afraid, or no, they're too afraid. Let me back this up. They're too afraid to fail, and you do have to be willing to fail, because
Right.
you're going to have to fail to get to your success. And if you're not failing now, then you're just delaying that success. In my head, that's how I view it. So I'm not
Yes.
afraid to fail. I'll fail. And I love that they're the same way. But they trust me. They trust me. They know I've been doing it. They trust everything I tell them. So it makes it so much better, being on the other side now and actually seeing my agents that I've got to train, be successful on their own. I'm like, let's go. Like, this is what I've
Yeah,
wanted all along.
for sure. And that's so good, because I had this aha moment with, even like, that's why I reached out to you. I didn't even know where, kind of where you were in the business, but a lot of times I had done podcasts with people that have already come across the hill and they're on top of the mountain and looking back down. And a lot of the people that follow me are newer agents, the first 2 years in the business, and they couldn't relate to the content. And so being on the journey, right? Like, every
We
week I
are
host a
in the
coaching
journey
call.
right now. Literally
Yeah,
in
for sure.
the hill. Yeah.
Yeah, on the journey right now. And it's like, this could be that midweek pick me up, or that get your head out of your ass moment, where it's like, hey, stay in there, hang in there, and keep fighting. And so that's really what I want to kind of talk about. Like, what do you do when shit hits the fan? What do you rely on for resilience to show up again the next day, right? To maybe stick your chest out there when you just got punched in the face because you got a team, depending on you, and you're the leader, and and you brought people on. So what do you do in the face of adversity?
You always have to control the controllables, no matter what. Like, even if it's been a bad day and I don't want to go to the gym, like, I can still control the fact that, yes, I can go to the gym, I can do that. There's certain things that you can control. You can't control that person that just went off at you, or your agent who is not listening to you. You can't control those. So figure out what you can control today and take control of it, quite literally.
Yeah, because again, that removes a lot of the emotion out of the equation. Because a lot of times it's really a disappointment that we thought it was going to go a certain way and we didn't get our way, and so now we're all in our feelings. So, um, what are some of the things that now after being in this business that you weren't expecting to get, that were kind of a good surprise for you, that you're like, oh man, I actually love this part. I wasn't expecting that to happen being in the business.
I think honestly, we sometimes don't connect with people that we know and tell them what we do. And
Mm.
the people around us are willing to work with us and they want to work with us. They just don't know what we do. And sometimes we rely so heavily on working the leads that we purchase and just kind of focusing on that because we know it works. Everyone tells us it works. We know we can get ourselves in front of people, but it's really that network around you need to start building, because the sooner you build that, the sooner you're going to grow your agency, whether hiring agents or just your clientele. I've tapped a lot into the health side of things now. So I came and just focused on life, just completely focused on life. And now we're focusing on health. And what's funny is my health leads are all people I know or leads for life that need health insurance. And I think, instead of just solely focusing on that, just connecting with the people in your circle, letting them know what you do, and not in an invasive, aggressive way, but just let them know, hey, I'm here to help you if you need help.
Yeah, that's very interesting. See, this is why I wanted to have this conversation. So, was there a particular experience that you had, or aha moment? Like, uh, how did you come to this conclusion that you're just focusing on the leads, but you have other people that you can help that are all around you that already trust, like, and love you?
I will say, like, for example, one of the guys going through the course right now, I met him out and about in Nashville, downtown, at a bar, basically. And I'm never out in a bar, but I was out with a girlfriend for an event in Nashville. And, that conversation will come up, like, what do you do? And then turns out he
Mm.
had just applied to be an insurance broker somewhere else. And it's funny how if you just tell people that, but also as soon as I got my health license, I didn't even put it out there. I don't even know how someone knew, but he's related, like a cousin of Finn's. And he was like, hey, I have some friends that need health insurance. And that's what's funny is I've never directly talked to him about it. He knew what I did though. And maybe it's because I put on my YouTube video and I explained how, I got my life license this year. And sometimes you just got to put it out there a little bit, like, hey guys, I do this, I got this. And then the pieces start connecting and people realize they know what you do, and then they'll reach out to you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so, what's next for you? What are you excited about going into 2025? What are some goals or some things that you're trying to achieve? I know you're a go-getter, so I'm excited to hear what you got cooking.
Yeah, right now, building the agency is like my number one priority when it comes to the business. Obviously, selling is a huge aspect to me too. I'm still trying to sell, but my goal is to bring in hungry individuals that are driven and motivated on their own, ready to win. Bring them in, really train them, work one on one. I work a lot with them to make sure they're successful, and then just helping them build out that too, because I've spent probably the last like 4 months especially building out all of our onboarding for the agency, all of our training, because I realized when I came in I was missing a lot of that. And it's super important for people like me to see the bigger picture. I need to see all those puzzle pieces put together. And so building out those systems, I basically am complete with that, but I'm going to continue improving that, and then just building the agency so that way our, agents can also have all the tools that they need. And then my fitness goals, obviously, I have two, I guess, shows. One is in May, one's in June. So I'm getting ready to go into prep. A lot happening with that because it's basically a full-time job in and of itself.
Mm.
I'm trying to just make it through June at this point, and then from there we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before we wrap up, you said something is that like you started building these systems, for basically for your younger agent self, right? For the things that you didn't have, you start noticing these things that probably could have helped you along the journey. So how important is it having these systems? Because I mean, some agents may not know that they don't have systems. They're just drinking the Kool-Aid and kind of chugging along. What are some things that are important to have, and how important is it to have these things in place that are vital for a new agent to have success?
It's super important, not just for your agents, but for you. Because, for example, I am all about working smarter, not harder. And I take my time with, let me like pause on that for a second. Time is very valuable to me. Okay. So when it comes to my time, if I can, point them right to my website, go ahead and watch all the training videos you need. And then we're going to hop on a Zoom call. You're going to go over any questions that you have for me. I'm going to explain a couple more things, make sure we're ready to go. That is such an easy, flawless method versus just call me whenever, bother me whenever. Let's jump on 4 different Zoom calls and spend 5 hours going over something that you can watch in literally 5 minutes and understand.
Right.
So, it to me it was all about saving time as well for them and me. I want them to watch it on their time. It also shows me that they're focused, they're committed. If they're doing it on their own, good. I don't want to sit there and hold someone's hand. I don't have time to do that. I'm selling, I'm building. We can't do that. It's kind of like the same method of when you're in the airplane and they say you need to put your oxygen on before you help someone else. It's the same thing in anything that you're doing. So it's kind of like, make sure I'm good to go, make sure my time is managed, because if my time isn't managed, I can't pursue my fitness goals like I want to. I'm stressed out, I'm tired, I can't get to the gym, things like that. So I'm at a point where time is so crucial, and at the same time, my agents need to be successful. So those systems have quite literally changed my life and helped me stay organized, be more efficient. But also, I think set them up for success so much sooner. Like I said, Bailey, a week and a half in, ready to go. My other agent, not even a week in, her first like 3 dials, or not 3 dials, I guess technically text, but 3 appointments, she sold. And that's because we did all the training ahead of time, the big picture, all the puzzle pieces. She was ready to go. And they're confident and they believe in it more too, the more you give them. We talked about that a little earlier. When you aren't confident in it, you're just trusting, what people are telling you, and it takes time to be confident in it. But if you can give them as much information up front where they understand the bigger picture, they're going to go into it much more confident and be successful so much more faster.
Amazing. Definitely well put. So I guess the last and final question I have is, now with all being a new agent and being within your first year, what's one piece of advice if you could go back and give your beginner self when you first started in your first week, from what you know now, that could have helped you accelerate your business or your growth or your understanding, to be further ahead than where you are now? What's one piece of advice you'd give your brand new self?
The numbers, we all know it. Put the numbers in your favor. It's a contact sport. The more people that you're in contact with, the more people or the more money you're going to make, So it's a contact sport. So do prioritize that, because you can have a good week and then the next week is bad. And then you get in your head. It's a roller coaster. Sales is a roller coaster. You always want to stay ahead. So even if you have a good week, that's okay. I came out of the gate like immediately making sales and was doing great right off the bat. And then the next month it kind of slowed down and I got in my head, is this for me? Am I good at this? But just put the numbers in your favor and track your numbers. Don't just blindly do it. Track your numbers so you can go back and see, why you didn't succeed or what was going on with that, and then you can adjust based off of that.
Yeah, and I remember that because we had a one-on-one coaching session in
Hmm.
Nashville, I think, and you were just coming off having your first month at 10K, right? And then the next month, I'm not sure how it went, but you said it didn't go as well as the first month. So how did you overcome that? How long did it take for you to get out of that slump that you were in?
You got to keep doing those daily activities to get you out of it. So for me, I was down on myself for a while, because you think, well, do I need to change something? What do I need to do? What am I doing differently?
Yes, the crisis of meaning. You start deciding on if this is for you, right?
Yeah, you're like, this isn't for me. I'm done. I made a mistake. Sales is not my thing, because it's a roller coaster. But I always, again, big picture. I don't care if I had a bad day. I don't care if I had a bad week, because my first week I did 10K. Okay, I came out, we're like, that's not typical. People aren't coming out immediately doing 10K. Um, so I kind of, had a blurry, I guess, view of how the industry is, because I came out and immediately did well, and then it kind of went down a little bit. Meanwhile, my other agent, she did 7 calls before she sold a policy, but then her week and a half in, she's at 8K submitted, last week. So it's all relative, but you have to know how you work and what you need, and just be confident in the processes. And if you feel like you didn't do something right, that's why you're going to go back to tracking your numbers and just sticking with it. I knew it could work for me. I knew I could do this. I knew it's a career that I can do. It's not just something I'm doing for fun. For the first time in my life, I finally found something that makes sense for me, that I can make good money with. I can manage my schedule well with. I have control over everything. I own the book of business. Like, when you find something like that you can do, you stick with it and you don't give yourself an out. So I never gave myself an out, and I stuck with it and just kept doing those daily activities to make sure I got it back up.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited because you just got me motivated. And so, if you're a young insurance agent out there and you're either in the peak or the valley, right? Like, no matter what, focus on the inputs, right? Putting in the daily actions based off of what she said, and don't get in your head. Just stay consistent. And more importantly, show up every single day.
Exactly.
So, Christine, for sure. Thank you so much. And if people watch this and they're like, well, I want to kind of learn a little bit more about you, where's some place on social, maybe they can follow you, check you out. Maybe they love your story and want to just kind of follow you online and follow your success.
Yeah, I'm mostly active on Instagram. So it's XTINE Falk, FALK. So my name, Christine Falk. And then my Instagram, or not my Instagram, my YouTube. I'm actually going to be filming a lot more on YouTube. I want to film my whole prep as I get into that for my shows. So that's coming to YouTube. And then I'll start sharing more sales things too as I get involved. So that will also be coming. And I share a lot of that on my Instagram too. Yeah, I'm mostly active on Instagram. So it's XTINE Falk, FALK. So my name, Christine Falk. And then my Instagram, or not my Instagram, my YouTube. I'm actually going to be filming a lot more on YouTube. I want to film my whole prep as I get into that for my shows. So that's coming to YouTube. And then I'll start sharing more sales things too as I get involved. So that will also be coming. And I share a lot of that on my Instagram too. Yeah, I'm mostly active on Instagram. So it's XTINE Falk, FALK. So my name, Christine Falk. And then my Instagram, or not my Instagram, my YouTube. I'm actually going to be filming a lot more on YouTube. I want to film my whole prep as I get into that for my shows. So that's coming to YouTube. And then I'll start sharing more sales things too as I get involved. So that will also be coming. And I share a lot of that on my Instagram too.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to following you and checking you out. So go ahead and follow her at XTeen Falk on Instagram and as well as on YouTube. Christine, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you for so much value. Guys, we'll see you on the next Rainmaker podcast.